Archipelago Islands.
5 young boys create a rescue trampoline.
The first to run a marathon in under 2 hours.
We have seen what we thought was unseeable.
A relay of dogs will lead blind runner Tom Panic across the finish line.
Nicolas Mahut lost in the French Open, but then his 7-year-old son ran onto the court to give his dad a big hug.
Her and her sister have been heroes for many little girls out there.
I want to thank my amazing mom. She's my hero.
I love you.
Exactly what I was thinking.
When you are free to be you, it is the best feeling in the world.
He's the Sully Sullenberger of pizza.
My family is making a grant to eliminate their student loans.
We know deep down what's right and what's needed.
I'm going to fight this.
Who says I can't? Nobody! Here it comes. Never been done in competition. The category is love, y'all. Love!
Use your heart, your courage and vision to fix, to heal, to empathize, to connect. Because living life for something bigger than yourself is a hero's journey.
Hi, I'm Lisa Wisner, the host of Power Up Hero, a show all about you being the hero of your story. We created this show to share stories of how other people are being Power Up heroes and how they're able to juggle this thing that we call life. I know sometimes it can feel like we have to pull superpowers from who knows where. So isn't it great to find out what superpowers other people are using to capitalize not only on their strengths, but to be able to make it through life in general? Today, I'm excited to celebrate an amazing hero in our community, Crystal Garcia. Crystal Garcia came into my life in the most unusual way. I remember meeting Crystal and feeling a wealth of joy into the world, feeling like, wow, this world really has heroes. And that hero for me today is Crystal Garcia. You know, our world needs heroes today more than ever before. And being a Power Up hero is about being a strong, celebrated leader in our community. And so we've dedicated this show to telling stories about nominated Power Up heroes. And we have been trying to get Crystal on the show for a while. We actually had the opportunity to interview Crystal's brother, Rudy Garcia, and he did an amazing job telling us about all of the work that they do. And so this amazing family has 2 amazing heroes in them. And so I'm super excited to bring you all Crystal Garcia. So to introduce Crystal, I'm going to read her bio, and then I hope you will join me in the chat to ask Crystal any questions you have about how Crystal is being a hero in real life. Today, we are celebrating Crystal Garcia. Crystal is one half of the founding duo of Revolve One podcast. With a vibrance and personality that is larger than life, she's hard to miss, and yet you would never know what you're going to get. Crystal sits on the Mosaic Project of South Texas Board, also known as Pride Corpus Christi. And Crystal resides here in Corpus Christi, Texas. This is her hometown with her dog, Zila. Crystal is a lover of words and literature. And when Crystal isn't in the studio creating content, she enjoys skateboarding, playing guitar and piano, and creating art. And so with that, I introduce you all to our Power Up hero of storytelling, Crystal Garcia. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm so excited and happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. How long has it been since we've been trying to get you on the show? You're so busy.
It's been a while. It's been a while. But, you know, this is my month. This is like my power month since my birthday's in August. So I was planning it out the whole time.
There we go. Now I know why it's been so long.
You're like, what is this girl doing?
Like she wants to come a year from now. What's going on, right?
Oh, my God. Time's crazy.
Yeah. Well, Crystal, I'm so excited to have you on the show. I want to congratulate you on being a Power Up hero. I want to thank you so much for coming into my life. I remember when we met, you and your brother actually asked me to be interviewed on your show, which I had never even heard about. And I remember sitting there being interviewed and looking at both of you and thinking, who are these people? And they're
Right?
and they're just on fire.
I just met them.
Yes. And
we were fangirling so hard at that her event. You already know.
Oh my gosh, the her event. Oh, that was an amazing event. So
Truly.
I just have to tell you, it's just amazing that I've gotten the opportunity now to get to know you, to get to know your family. And I'll tell you what, y'all are a powerful family. You do amazing things for our community. And so I thank you so much for being a hero. And I thank you for being a role model for everyone who strives to do better on this earth.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We're just beyond honored to even know you and to be a part of this community in this way.
Well, I guess, what do we say? Like, the feeling is mutual. We definitely both agree that we share our
yes, exactly.
loving our presence with each other. So with that, I definitely want to get into learning more about you. I know we definitely have some people watching the show, so I want to bring them into the show. We have my friend Valerie White. How's it going, Valerie? Valerie is one of our heroes. How's it going? Hello, time to power up. That's right.
Woo, yes.
What we do. We're Power Up Heroes here, Valerie. And so we want to ask you, Crystal, as far as your service to the world, I always like to say, what do you do? Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you serve our world.
Okay, so, my name is Crystal Garcia, right? Born and raised here from Corpus Christi, Texas. I always felt the need to express myself. So you can say I'm a pretty outspoken person. Whether I do that through my writing, through words, through spoken word, when I share, or even just a simple message to a friend, while they're feeling down. But even, through my job, which I'll take, calls in a law firm to see how I can help people that, I've probably never talked to before. So I always try to do my best to be, open, to be understanding, and to be empathetic. Even when I don't know what really people are going through, I just try to lend them, an open ear and see what I can do to, be of service to them, to possibly help them with their situation, or even just with how they're feeling.
I love that. I mean, it's not every day that you hear somebody like, what do you do for a living? I'm empathetic and I want to help you.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then they're like, what?
Like, whatever box that fits in, what do you need? I think that's what that sounded like.
And if we can't personally help you, then we know somebody that can.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And so I have to bring your brother into this. Hey, Rudy, how's it going? So proud of you.
There he is. Hey, bro.
Yay, I love that. And Valerie's like, yep, awesome, awesome, awesome. And so I'm super excited to get into learning more about the work that you do. We talked about you being the co-creator of the Revolve One podcast, and we talked about so many other things. But before we even move into that, we're calling you the PowerUp hero of storytelling. Can you tell me what you think a hero is?
Yes, definitely. So I kind of wrote a little snippet here, but, I believe being a hero, so to say, it can be a simple mindset of, doing better for yourself today than you did yesterday, as well as being able to brighten someone else's day, even, despite your own ongoing daily struggles. So I feel like just that simple mindset of, wanting to do, be of service to others, to be helpful to others while, still trying to, keep everything together for you. I feel like that's a pretty heroic mindset to be in.
It really is. It's almost selfless, right? So you're thinking beyond your own self-love, right? You're thinking about how to pour into other people.
I believe that's very important. Definitely.
And then we're calling you the PowerUp hero of storytelling. So tell me a little bit about this storytelling love that you have.
Okay, so when I was younger, and I feel like I've always been, very creative with coloring, art, writing, music, but I feel like I really latched on to writing at an early age because, when you're, a young kid, a teenager, adolescence, you're kind of going through a lot with figuring out the relationship with your parents, the relationship with your siblings, all of that. So it can be overwhelming, right? So I started when I realized that I couldn't really speak about my feelings so well, that maybe I needed to write about it. So I would have these, those little black and white composition notebooks that I would sometimes draw in or doodle in, but a lot of the times I would just be writing little journal entries or poems, or I'd be real angry and antsy and just going off, to be honest with you. But it ended up being, becoming a healthy habit because at least I wasn't putting all that sometimes negativity or doubt or even just frustration. I wasn't putting it out there so much. I was keeping it more so in a journal. And when I needed to speak on it, I would, but it would be a lot healthier for me to just transfer those feelings into writing, because then I felt like it seemed more clear. So I guess that trying to just cope with, you know, everyday life as like a growing kid and teenager turned into something that I really, you know, I realized that I really enjoy doing, which is writing and expressing myself through like words and poetry and prose, if you will. So I guess I've always loved the gift of storytelling, because even in English class and for writing tests, people already knew if they had me in a class, they would like sigh and they'd be so over their lives because they knew I was going to take my sweet time, not so much on the test part itself, but on the writing part. So they would usually end up moving us to the library. But regardless, I feel like it's something that if you enjoy doing it, it's something that you feel can help others as you're enjoying doing it, then you definitely need to pursue that purpose.
I love that. Oh, wow. Okay. So I have to tell you that there's certain, I guess, ways that people are. And I always think to myself, I'm glad I know somebody who likes accounting. I'm glad I know somebody who's a doctor. And I'm glad I know people who like writing, because for some reason, I like talking and I like to put videos together. But when it comes to putting words together and writing and writing articles or blog posts, I'm always like, oh, I don't know about that. So I'm glad I know you, Crystal.
Yes, it's its own process for sure. Just like, you putting videos together and speaking so well with others, that's its own gift and process. Definitely writing is its own gift and process.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a question that has actually come in, and it's talking about Revolve One, how you can support Revolve One. Valerie, we got you. We're definitely going to speak about Revolve One, and we actually have a video that Crystal and her brother actually have on their amazing website, by the way, that we will be able to share. Before we jump into that, though, I want to bring in a little bit about how you got started with moving storytelling from being in the classroom and just knowing that you like storytelling into what I would call the world, right? Because you not only host poetry contests, or you write poems and you actually help other people celebrate their storytelling creativity, right? Like, tell me a little bit about how you moved from doing it in your composition books to the stage. How did you move from that?
So whenever my brother and I, came up, excuse me, with the idea of Revolve One, right, of the podcast, we knew that we wanted it to be something that we could talk with other people, connect with other people, and it be a very positive, uplifting platform. So whenever we started doing that, and I would tell him, I can write, I can do some of the posts, I can create some of the interviews or whatever, he understood. But then I was already telling him too, like, hey, that's like literally what I love to do. I love to write. And I guess he thought I was kind of like over exaggerating. But then when I showed him what I wrote and that I do it pretty often, he said, oh, okay, well, wow, like I didn't realize you were this into writing. So then that's when we decided that we were not only going to do the podcast, but that we were going to put my work out there publicly. So, and I want to say, I might be wrong, but it was October 10th, I believe it was of 2018, but we had our first poetry night, if you will, right? I actually put this idea out there to the exchange, because they would do open mics for like comedy and these shows and that show. So I thought, why not, right? And they loved the idea of it. So that's what we did. But we were focusing it on mental health awareness, right? So the reason for sharing my work was because my brother knew that the reason I wrote so much is that it helped me cope through a lot of difficult emotions, a lot of difficult just situations and and whatnot, and even the joy too. Sometimes you really got to let the joy out in other ways as well. So it wasn't just the negative, right? It was also the positive. So that's when he realized, hey, why don't we just put on a show during like Mental Health Awareness Week, and it actually fell on World Mental Health Day. Then let's put your work out there and let's show people that, poetry isn't just about writing in your notebook and keeping it all to yourself, but it's also about sharing that work with the world, so to say, and just living your truth, really. So it was one of the most like nerve-wracking times ever, because I had never had to present, or rather had the opportunity to present my work like that, my own original work. But it was such a great time. I mean, once the words started flowing, and of course I had so much support from, the exchange, my family, my friends, and of course my brother, who was my co-host then too. that it was just so beautiful and such a success that we ended up having to let other people share later that night after I did. And then we even had to start doing the quarterly held open mic poetry nights because people were just like so about it. They were like, wow, like when is this kind of like thing going to happen again? And, you know, they just kept asking and asking. And I was like, wow, well, we weren't really planning on doing this. Like this was supposed to be a one and done kind of thing. But if people really want it to keep happening, then we want to give the community a chance to share their work too, right? Or even just share a favorite of theirs. But I believe being able to come together like that and share with others is very important because they can have that like that feeling of being able to relate to somebody, and then also having that safe space to share their work that maybe they would have never thought to share before.
Or have the courage to, sounds like, right?
Exactly, because it's a big step, you know, from going to writing in your room or writing in a coffee shop, you know, kind of saying these things and practicing to yourself, to going up there on the stage and looking at these lights, looking at all these people's faces and just having to put it all out there, you know. It's a different kind of vulnerability, but it's a big step forward.
Yes. Wow. I'm just imagining how that event went for you, right? Your first time sort of like bearing yourself bare, right? And so
it was a big deal. It was good though. It was definitely much needed, and we had a lot of support. I think and I was joking around with my brother that because of the subject of the poetry night that we might have some hecklers or, you know, we might have some bad vibes or something. But really, it was almost all around positivity. I think there was one guy that was like, oh my gosh. But, you know, hey, if he came and he showed up, that means he was at least interested to see what it was about. So at the end of the day, like I was grateful for everybody's support or not support. I just wanted people to go and see what it was all about, really.
I love that. And now, of course, we all know that it has grown and it has become a force. And you have become a force in terms of creating these poetry community-related opportunities, creating these safe spaces for people to share their authentic selves. I do want to share a little bit about Crystal. Crystal, along with the entire board of Pride Corpus Christi, you know, they are completely focused on the LGBTQIA+ community, knowing that they're dedicated to making certain that queer people aren't alone in the fight and that they are local and national resources available. So can you speak a little bit about how you got onto the board of Pride Corpus Christi, which is, I guess here in our community, better known as the Mosaic Project?
Yes. So I am definitely so grateful to be on the board for, you know, the Mosaic Project of South Texas, Pride Corpus Christi, because I know whenever I was still kind of like learning more about, you know, pride within our own community and whatnot, I already knew Tom, you know, I knew some of the people on the board, and, you know, Jonathan's great. So they were kind of like, you know, what are you doing? Like, why don't you join us and help us to, you know, make this even more like well known and be able to connect with more people, you know, and the fact that we have a podcast. I was like, you know what, like I definitely want to be of more service, right, to my community, especially within the local pride community. So I went ahead and made that jump to, you know, to get on the board, and I was glad to be there. And now I feel like I've only been more and more educated about, you know, the queer community, about us, and how beautiful it is to really be so accepting and loving of each other, where you really do feel like you have so many people rooting you on, and you have so many like-minded individuals, and that you just have to be, you know, we really are stronger together. So I feel like just me kind of being like who I am by myself, aside from the board, I felt okay. But now that I'm serving the board, I'm on the board, I feel like there's so much that I've been like opened up to, and there's a lot of educational resources that I wasn't necessarily like aware of, if that makes sense. So I really love that I'm able to be on the board and serve in that way, because then that means I can help enlighten other people, if you will, or talk on my own experience within the board and within serving the community about, you know, how important it is to know and be an ally even of your local, you know, LGBTQIA+ community, because they need all the support. We need all the support we can get. So.
Exactly. And you're going to be hosting actually for October, you're going to be actually hosting a poetry night, right?
Yes. We're very excited about that. We're going to be hosting a poetry night here locally at the Coastal Bend Wellness Foundation. A poetry night itself will start around 7 p.m. And of course, it's free of charge. We're not going to charge anybody. It's always free. And we just ask that, you go, that there's just no hateful or, language to incite violence. But other than that, you're free to just share whatever, whether it's your own original work, whether it's, a favorite classic of yours. But we just love having that space and that platform, wherever it may be. This time it's at, the Coastal Bend Wellness Foundation, to come together and to share the spoken word. And it also gives people that are still kind of on the fence too, whether, within the LGBTQIA plus community or not, if they're like a writer or if they're a poet, but they're kind of still like not too sure, like if they ever want to share their work, like it gives them a space too, to go and see, what it's all about and how, if they do decide to share, great. If not, at least they're in that safe space where they can kind of figure out how, maybe if they ever were to share, how it would go. So I think that's very important, to have these poetry nights, to have these spoken word slams, if you will, so that people can really just be just surrounded in that good vibe and in that very safe but also very expressive space. So it's something that I love to do and love to be a part of.
I love that. In a safe, expressive space. I love it. It's like, just let go and just be your speed.
Exactly. And people will be all about it. The more you're into it, the more people are going to be snapping for you. They're going to be rooting for you. So
yeah, I love it. And so I'm going to throw up the website for Pride Corpus Christi. So if you're interested to learn more about what's going on with Crystal on the Pride Corpus Christi board and what's going on in October in regards to the poetry event, if you want to share your poetry on the stage, go to www.pridecorpuschristi.com.
Yes.
So now let's talk a little bit about Revolve One.
Yes, there we go, the podcast.
So as we're talking about your podcast, we definitely want to bring in a video that I just so happened to see on YouTube. So I'm going to share it with everyone, if that's okay, Crystal. And then we'll talk about Revolve One and everyone can learn more about your podcast, okay?
Okay.
And of course, as soon as I wanted to do it, I was
right, it's
share my screen, and then the share screen didn't work. So give me 1 second and I will share it right now. Hold on. Okay, there we go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rudy Garcia.
I'm Krista Garcia.
And we're with Revolve One podcast. I want to say thank you so much for checking out our Patreon page and listening, because you've made it this far, and we really appreciate that. Of course. And so we wanted to talk about briefly, Crystal, why did we create Revolve One?
Indeed. Well, the main purpose of Revolve One is to be able to discuss differing topics with, as well as other perspectives from various individuals. But also we seek to engender empathy and, of course, anyone we sit down with, as well as our entire community and our listeners as well.
Yeah, so the truth of the matter is when we started Revolve One podcast, we never thought we'd create a Patreon page, but here we are, because many of our listeners were reaching out and asking us about it. And so we decided to create one with the premiere of season 2. So what we are going to be doing this season is really trying to figure out exactly the best way to leverage Patreon and make sure we can provide rewards that both are benefit.
So Crystal, I'm just going to pause the video right there. And I wanted you to just kind of see that. I think when I saw that video, I didn't even know y'all were on Patreon. I don't know if people would know what that is. And so there's just so much. I was thinking, wow, there's so much amazing work that they're doing. The other thing I want to bring into this is you on the website. So before we move on, I just kind of want to level set for some of our fans who have just joined us right now. So for those of you who have just joined us, we're actually celebrating Crystal Garcia, who is the co-creator of the Revolve One podcast. We've just celebrated Crystal as our PowerUp hero of storytelling. And Crystal is one half of the duo that created this amazing website, created this amazing community called Revolve One, which is a podcast of storytelling for people in our community. And so, Crystal, I want you to just kind of vibe with me on how amazing the work is that you've done on Revolve One. Talk to me a little bit more about Revolve One, how it started as I'm navigating through your website.
Okay, so, and thank you so much again, because it really is incredible to do what we do, because we saw the need for, in the year 2016, as you know, it was an election year. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of, he said, she said, just a lot of negativity, right? So my brother and I did not fare well with all that. It was just a lot of, chaotic energy, right? So we decided, what can we do to put out more positivity, to put out more, love, and add more value to these people in our community that definitely need to be lifted up and, their voices amplified. So that's when we came up with the idea, out of that 2016 election year, that in 2017 we created, in the fall of 2017, the Revolve One podcast. And we decided that no matter what we were going to do, like topic wise, we were going to try and focus on, interviewing people, of course, and, being able to also focus like on marginalized voices, if you will, people that, they don't always get noticed, or they're just always constantly doing the work and they just don't get recognized enough. So we wanted to lift up those people also and add value into them, while also trying to tackle some very difficult and heavy issues that we felt needed to be brought more into the light, that needed more awareness, right? As such as mental health, right? So we decided that's what we would do. And from there, once we got started, our debut episode is the pros and cons of the legalization of marijuana, because that was actually also another thing in 2016. It was a very green year for marijuana. So that was just, what a start, right? So we decided if we could start there, then we could pretty much talk about anything and everything from politics to, those harder to discuss topics to, entertainment, interviews. So we've just been going on and on about how can we continue to add value to those in our community and lift up marginalized voices, while also staying true to who we are and the style of how we're doing it. So I think people have really seen that, authenticity, and that's why, we've been so successful so far.
I love it. And so I'm going to navigate through the website a little bit. So as you can see, for everyone watching, we definitely have a lot of information that you can go to the Revolve One website and review. But if you're listening to this through a podcast, I'm going to tell you what we're seeing over here. We're definitely excited to see that there's a series. And so there's different series that that Crystal and her brother Rudy run. So can you talk me through these series that I'm navigating through?
Sure. So that first series you see there is the See America in 2020. And honestly, I can't really take credit for that one, because my brother is such a political junkie that he decided, you know what, we got to make this a whole thing throughout 2020, right? Because another election year. So I thought, you know what, yeah, why not? Like, we need to talk about it. So that's where we would kind of talk about the, the caucuses, the different, processes that, elections kind of go through, because there's a lot of talk, right, during election years about what's actually going on. So we thought that was very necessary. And then we would even kind of, for a while there, See America in 2020 was also about following technically 4 people, and I believe the 5th being the people. So 4 people, 4 of our friends, and kind of going through like, who were they going to vote for, or who did they think they were going to vote for in the beginning, if their minds had changed, who they ended up voting for after, the election was over, and why they thought that was the best decision, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought it was very awesome to include that kind of series, so that way people could kind of like get a little insight into how other people's minds work during an election year, right, for the voting. So that was very important to us.
And I see here that not only do you have that one, but you had the one-on-one, and then you had If I'm Honest with You, and then you had Revolve Her, and then you've got I've got 2 words for you, thank you. And so I love how you actually you've made your podcast, it's not just a running podcast with just different shows. You're really conscious of what are we focused on during this season, right? And then you focus on that, and you find conversations around that, and then you move on to amazing things that are relevant to today, right? So it's not just about having random conversations; it's about what's going to move the needle in those uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
And what I like about what you're presenting here is, it's a little bit of friction, right? So I say that sometimes, we always get that soft, conversation about the niceties, right? Nobody wants to talk about politics and religion and all the niceties of everything. When you talk about your first episode being marijuana, and then you thought, if we can talk about this, we can talk about anything. I think
exactly.
Bold. That was super bold in terms of showing up strong for your brand and showing up strong for what you authentically believe in.
Mm-hmm. And it was, like you said, it was current events at the time. So it's not like it was something just out of the woodworks. It was definitely something that was heavily voted on and talked about in 2016, right? And then us leading into 2017. But yes, thank you. Those topics, those like series are some of the best, because it really helped us focus too, right, on what we were narrowing in on. And like, If I'm Honest with You would really be about, some difficult, situations. I think one of them was like, if I'm honest with you, being a parent is bittersweet, right? Because we could understand just how much responsibility and care these kids need to be, to be loved and to know and to grow up, wonderfully. Yeah. So, and it really is important to go through those topics. And even like Revolve Her was more, Rudy would say bye-bye other than setting everything up. And it would just be me and an all-female cast. And we'd be talking on different, subjects, whether it was emotions, whether it was, climate change. We decided that the ladies needed to be able to have their own spotlight. Mm-hmm. And that's very important, to be lifting up, your fellow women in your community, right? And get their opinions. And even one of our more, I guess you could say, less often shows is the series is the Trash Talk. And honestly, that's one of my favorites, because like you said, most people are trying to focus on the niceties and kind of just talk, lightly here and there. But for Trash Talk, we decided, what is a few things that just bothered us or bothered our guests that they could openly talk about, of course, not saying any names or offending anybody, but they could openly talk about, like, who cut you off in traffic, or, what's been really bothering you about today, and that was just a good cathartic conversation that ended up being pretty humorous too. So I think people just loved hearing Trash Talk also.
Yeah, actually, that sounds pretty interesting. It sounds like, again, somebody was on the stage talking about all the things they just wanted to let go of. Mm-hmm. Let's just talk real, right? Everybody filters their thoughts, right? We all filter. It's not really what I was thinking. I'm just saying what I think will be agreeable to everybody, right?
Yeah.
So Valerie White actually asked, are there any opportunities for virtual participation? Not sure if you were talking about being on the show, Valerie, but I've sent you the link right there. So you're more than welcome to join us on the show.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that Valerie actually had was, how can one support Revolve One? How do we get the message out?
Okay, so that's a very good question there, Valerie. Thank you. Anytime you listen to the show that's supporting us, anytime you're able to share, an episode that really hit home with you, whether it's on your Facebook or anywhere else on your social media, or even personally to one of your friends, we love when people are able to share our episodes, And also, too, we do still have the Patreon page. We haven't been as active on it, but we do have little exclusive things here and there. So you can still support the show, I believe, through our Patreon. But really, the biggest things that we ask for are just, stay tuned, stay listening, share with your family and friends. And on Apple Podcasts, you can actually rate and review, and that really helps the show out, too.
Fantastic. And so Valerie kind of cleared this up, and what she meant was for the poetry. So how can we, so how can people find out about the poetry?
Okay, so the poetry, really, we're just having that upcoming poetry night, Pride Poetry Night, right? So on October 2nd, it's going to be a Saturday starting around 7 p.m., right, at the Coastal Bend Wellness Foundation. Really, all you have to do is, let your friends know, whether they're poets or writers or creatives or not. Hey, if you're wanting to go with me to this event, I think I want to, share maybe some work that I have, or I just want to go and check it out. Like, people in the writing community, they absolutely love all the support. I mean, it's literally what we feed off of, right? And even our critics, right? Even your critics, we want to hear it. We want to be given all that feedback. So we're definitely going to have a flyer made pretty soon, probably in the next week or so, that we'll be able to share on social media. So just kind of be on the lookout for Revolve One's Facebook page. Our Instagram will definitely be sharing some sort of flyer so that you can kind of more easily put the word out there. But for sure, that's where it's going to be Coastal Bend Wellness Foundation, October 2nd on a Saturday, starting around 7 p.m. You know, it's going to be a good time.
Awesome. All right. So I'm looking forward to it. So let's move on into your superpowers. I definitely want to move into your heroic self, Crystal. And I want to just talk a little bit about you being the Power Up hero of storytelling. And I want to just identify what.
Please, one moment. I'm so sorry. One of my alarms is going off.
Oh, that's totally.
I didn't think about it. So right.
I can hear it. I can hear it.
Oh no. There we go.
That's okay. As I'm looking at your guitars, I can see them.
I know, right? I'm like, why is it going off? I forget.
Okay.
I have like so many different alarms.
It's like alarm for this, alarm for that.
Yes.
I have 4 alarms in the morning. One that's like, you better be getting ready if you're not ready already.
Exactly. That's how they go.
And one's like, you better leave the house, drop the boys off at school. If you're not left already, you're gonna be late.
Right.
You know,
why are you still here, alarm?
Yeah, it's an alarm for the alarms It's like crazy.
Yes.
So yeah, we were just gonna talk a little bit about you and your superpowers. And so we celebrated you as the Power Up hero of storytelling. And so can you tell us a little bit about what I always stand strong when I think about a person being a Power Up hero, and I always imagine their cape having like their Power Up hero superpowers written on there. So what do you believe your superpowers are so that you can be the Power Up hero of storytelling?
So I think ever since I was younger, I've always been really good at not only listening, but kind of like relating with others. Even if it was in a very small or subtle way, I'd kind of like focus on that because of course, when you're a kid, you just want to make friends, right? And so I learned very quickly that if I could relate with them on this card game, or if I could talk with them about their favorite music and it happens to be some of my favorite music, then that would just instantly help us to better connect and click. And so I guess throughout the years, I've only become like better and better at being able to kind of figure those things out with people, even if I'm not really focusing on myself so much. But I actually really I think I've always really enjoyed just learning about other people, to be real with you. So as much as I do enjoy, kind of talking about what I like and stuff like that and what I like to do, I've always been really good about hearing other people out, being an active listener, and being able to, be easily just relate with others, if that makes sense. So it's made it a lot easier for me to be such a vibrant person, I guess you can say. It's because I just want to be able to know more about the person sitting across from me.
I love that. And with that, I feel like you're defining the definition of love.
Yes.
I think that I would say like you're a very loving person. And Rudy's reading my mind. Here we go. Rudy's like, Crystal's superpower is compassionate human.
Oh God.
Smiley face, by the way. Can I say this? That sometimes sometimes we don't know what our superpowers are, and other people who can probably see better, right, of what our superpower really is. So thank you, Rudy. We needed that. So yeah, I heard love. I heard love. Here we go. Compassionate, human, right?
Yes.
I heard kindness, right? I think just the kindness of being in somebody else's space, that empathy, is so important. So
it really is.
I hear all that. So those are your superpowers. Man, you have more than one superpower. I love it.
I've been trying to hone them in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're going to be like, there's a show, I don't know what it was called, Heroes or something like that, where one of the superpowers was like being able to take other people's powers.
I think I remember that show. I remember really liking that show for a little bit when I was almost 10 or 12 years old, and I was like, oh my God, Heroes. Like,
oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Wasn't that a good show?
It really was a good show.
Such a good show. So Valerie White tells us relating to others through their stories helps create opportunity for collaboration and co-creation. I love that word.
Valerie knows what's up.
Yes. And so before we even move into that, I think I just want to kind of clear things up for Valerie, because I think Valerie wants to be a part of the event you're having on October 2nd. Now, Valerie actually lives in San Antonio. So she's probably asking about participating virtually. So I think from one perspective or another, Valerie, I think we could definitely have you if you wanted to be part of this. It's not necessarily only for the LGBTQIAP+ community. Thank you for adding more to the identities there. We definitely, I think, regardless, want to invite everybody to participate. Right, Crystal?
Yes, for sure. It's not just for those within the, LGBTQIA plus community. It's really for everyone to go and to feel, again, like they're in a safe, expressive space, that they're able to connect with others. As for virtual opportunities, I think we're still kind of working all the details out. I know we're going to try to live stream, I think, some of it, or one of our people, we're going to try and do that. But as for when that's going to happen, during the event or the poetry night, we're still kind of working all those details out. But we'll definitely keep everybody posted. And for sure, even if you're willing to make a quick little trip to Corpus Christi, Texas, I definitely think it'll be worth it for a good time.
Yes. And so at the very least, I'll go live on my Facebook page. So
right.
You want to watch a little bit of it.
I got you.
We'll do that. We got you, Valerie. We got you. We got you. All right. So moving on, Crystal, now that we've identified your superpowers, we always imagine the superhero journey being sort of like set up in such a way where there's ups and downs. I always call it the roller coaster. So yeah. So just for a little break, I want to share a little bit about what the hero journey is all about. Enjoy, and we'll be right back with Crystal Garcia.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo, that's where we start. 1 o'clock, call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock, assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older, wiser. 3 o'clock, departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock, trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock, approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Lisa Wisner, the host of the Power Up Hero Show. And today we're elevating a spotlight, shining a strong spotlight on an amazing individual in our community, Crystal Garcia. We just celebrated Crystal as our Power Up Hero of storytelling. And now we're at the part of our show where we ask our hero about the challenges they have faced. You just saw the true definition of a hero's quest. You go on this quest and you're like, I can do it. And then the dragon comes or whatever monster comes and takes away. So Crystal, I want you to tell us about your hero's journey. Tell us about what challenges you may have faced or what made you the person you are today as a hero.
Okay, well, thank you, Lisa. I do appreciate that. So, I mean, I'd say that, throughout life, right, you're always going to come up to some obstacles, some challenges. And the way that I feel like I've really became a hero in its own sense is, I feel most days I do struggle with anxiety, and some days that can actually manifest as social anxiety. Being a poet, a writer, a podcaster has definitely helped to take me out of so-called like comfort zones. The first time we ever hosted, the poetry night was a big deal. It was me, pretty much sharing my original work, bearing myself to the world, sharing my heart. It was absolutely nerve-wracking, but it was one of the best things that we could do, because it was not only a poetry night to show others, how you can express yourself, but it really was, we wanted others to know that writing to express yourself can be helpful in maintaining our mental health, as the practice of writing is actually very cathartic, right, in and of itself. And we had a lot of support, we still do, but I feel like the fact that I was able to put myself out there like that, despite being so in my head about it, getting so nervous. And at one point I just kept going over my poems, and people could even see me kind of practicing beforehand. I remember this one stranger kind of just passed by and told me, you know what, you're going to do great. Like, don't even, and even just that simple comment was just, it was so relieving, because it's like people I didn't even know that were there to like hear some poetry, and they didn't even really know just how deep it was going to get, right? But they were there rooting me on, essentially. They were there believing in me. So I guess you can say me sharing my work and us being a part of, well, creating, right? And being the founders of Revolve One, the co-founders and creators. That's how I've really been able to bloom in my self-expression, in my writing, and in our, content creating. Because now I've connected with so many other people, and, wonderful and beautiful people like you, Lisa, who are being their own heroes and agents of change, right, within the community. So my brother really helped me to be more confident in myself. And so I'm just trying to help others to do the same, if you will.
And I would never have imagined that, I see you now as this superpower woman, right? And you can't even imagine what you're telling me, because anyone who knows Crystal Garcia today can say that, she will slay you with her awesomeness.
Right.
You're amazing. And I see you always strong and proud. You have just amazing energy. And so totally see how, having your community, having your brother, just really be a support system for you, I think it was important for you. So that's how you became who you are, through co-creation. Can you define co-creation for us? What is that?
Well, I mean, it's whenever you can come together with somebody, whether you're like-minded or not, right? But you can hash these ideas out. You can talk about, how do we want this to go? How do we want to present this? And I mean, I feel like co-creation is just that beautiful, like, symphony of being able to showcase both of the strengths of those people, right? When it comes to my brother and I doing the podcast, I mean, he's a lot better at being real technical, being real tech savvy, and doing the actual like producing of the actual show. Whereas I'm more the, let me put my 2 cents in, let me write out the script, or let me do the, the post description. Let me do the more like creative things when it comes to putting the episode together. Of course, we ebb and we flow, right? So we put a little of both of our strengths together into doing those things. But it really does help when you focus on your strengths and you're able to allow, with co-creating, your weaknesses are being picked up by the other person's strengths. So then that's how it just works and meshes so well. So we definitely like to encourage each other and lift each other up around here.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So let's move into a fun part of our show, which we like to call Fast 5 Finger Favorites. So for those of you who are watching, if you want to share with us what your favorites are, we're going to be asking Crystal what her favorites are. So go, Crystal, and get ready for Fast 5 Finger Favorites. The first question is, what is your favorite book?
Okay, my favorite book is actually Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. And really any of his short story collections. He's an amazing science fiction writer. He's like, literally, he makes me go over the moon with reading his short stories. If I were to ever be an author that writes short stories, let's just put it like that, I want it to be like Ray Bradbury's.
There you go. Love, love, love that. Okay, the next question is, what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, not too surprising, is Wonder Woman. I feel like that movie was just so well done, and Patty did an amazing job. Of course, Gal did, the whole cast, everybody. I mean, it just came together so great. And the main moral of that movie, right, is to just fight for what you believe in and to fight for love. So I love it. Wonder Woman, I'm all about it right there. So
right. Sometimes the way they put movies together just makes it, right? So I think the cinematography of that movie just brought it together really well. So
yes, and I actually wrote an article after I saw that movie. I mean, I was already getting into her character more, but I wrote an article called "The Woman of Wonder," and it kind of like ties her story, her origins and her story together into the current plight of women worldwide. So if anybody's interested in reading that article, we can definitely, we have the link available, so I'm happy to share it with anybody. But that definitely inspired me to dive deeper into women being the biggest minority there is worldwide and how we can further lift each other up.
Yes, I love that. I want to read that writing. So definitely share it with me, and we'll make sure we put it as a link connected to this episode.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
The next question on Fast Five Finger Favorites is, what is your favorite song or something to listen to?
Okay, so that's a really good question because I love music so much. There are just way too many. But what I can do is I can name a few of my favorite artists. So those are going to be like Kid Cudi, Mac Miller, the XX, and even our own local Quinton Arispe.
Oh, Quinton! Oh,
yes.
You know, the funny thing about Quinton is, I remember Quinton when he was Harbor Playhouse Quinton. You know,
yes.
Kid, elementary school looking, just performing, you know, little plays. Now Quinton, oh my God!
Absolutely, superstar Quinton. I mean, we're forever rooting Quinton on.
Oh, I know. You know, for those of you who don't know who Quinton Arispe is, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. Yes. You need to know who
Get on it.
Person is, because I mean, I really feel like, you know, sometimes in a community you wonder why people haven't blown up yet, right? You're like, why isn't this person like everywhere? Like, I need right? to be everywhere, right? And so I have a sense that Quinton is going to be one of those where we're like, you know, they're from Corpus, you know,
right?
Map, you know.
The vibe Quinton puts out there is just universal. So I believe, you know, definitely going to go far, Quinton, with this music.
Love it. Let's go ahead and move on. What is your favorite quote or phrase?
Okay, so it's funny you asked me this because one of my favorite quotes is actually prefacing Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, and it goes, "If they give you ruled paper, write the other way." Okay, and that quote was originally said by Juan Ramon Jimenez, and you know, it basically just means to think for yourself, to not always be going with the status quo, to not always think just because we've always done it this way that it's the right way, but to have that sense of, you know, individuality to where you really can make the best decision for you.
I love that. Can you say that quote again?
Sure, yeah. So if they give you ruled paper, write the other way.
Okay, so I love it. So flip the page the other way and just start writing in whatever direction you want, right?
Exactly. Do what you feel is right. Do what you want to do.
I love it. Okay, so now I'm going to start doing that. I'm literally going to start seeing ruled paper and going, you're not going to put me in
like, nah.
You're not putting me in these lines. I'm writing wherever I want to write.
Me in.
Yeah, I went to a conference this week and they were talking about the new disruption. And so it was talking about how different perspectives is what's important. So seeing things in a different way than it's presented to you is your superpower. It's the power of today. It's the new disruption.
Definitely.
I love that so much. And you brought that into this, so that's awesome.
Yes.
Love it, love it, love it.
We could all do a lot better by practicing that, right? By being able to look at those different perspectives and just take them in.
Yeah, I remember going to a workshop once about creativity with some really awesome people. And one of the things they said to do every morning when you wake up is to start calling things out by things that are not their name. So like for about a minute, just spend some time. If you look at a lamp, call it an elephant. Or if you look at your shoes, call them a car, you know, just get your juices flowing in your mind.
Yes.
Like actually, for some reason, apparently, if you see things from a different way, it starts to bring that creativity into your mind. Anyway, all these exercises.
That really just sounds like kids' imagination, right? That's what it sounds like you're reverting back to, but that's the best way because that's helping your brain like just grow and network better, I feel.
Yeah. And so that actually leads me to my favorite question of the Fast Five Finger Favorites, which is, how do you power up in the morning? Crystal Garcia, our power up hero of storytelling. We've already uncovered that your superpowers are, let's see if I can remember, love, being compassionate, your creativity, your kindness. We want to find out, how do you meet the day? How do you wake up in the morning? How do you throw those covers off?
Okay, so again, really great question. This is one that actually kind of made me chuckle to myself a little bit because I'm not really a morning person, but I do actually love mornings. So I do work the night shift. I usually don't wake up too early, although I do try to wake up around noonish, a little more early afternoon so that I can get a good start to my day right before work. As you heard earlier, I have numerous alarms set to make sure that I'm getting up at a reasonable time. Of course, my dog Zila really helps to remind me that it's time to wake up, kind of nudges me awake, winds me awake. But Honestly, once my day is getting started, then it's a lot easier for me to just do what I got to do. Of course, get ready in the bathroom, kind of go outside for a little fresh air and to take her out, my dog. And once that sunshine hits me outside, I feel like it's such a different feeling. Maybe it's weird to say this, but like when it hits me in my room and when I'm still asleep, I'm so over it. But when I'm outside feeling like the sunshine and like, then all of a sudden, like the birds are chirping right and like everything feels good. So I would say like just being able to get up out of bed, get ready and feel like the sunshine on my skin, that helps to make me like really have a good start to my day. And of course, some caffeine definitely helps.
I like how you added, of course, caffeine. What are y'all talking about?
All day, cold brew, espresso shots, whatever. I'll take it.
You're like, I need my fuel. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I had a great phone call this morning because they were like, hey, get up. Like, we're bringing you coffee. And I said, oh my God, yes, I'm getting up. I'm up.
I love it. So we have so Valerie White actually said that Valerie White shared, approach each day with hope, and expectation to win.
You also got to work out the core, right? So
yes.
the abs.
That's true. That's right.
I love it. Yes, that's very true.
Yes. And then I like how she also put that someone can take the hand you were dealt and win by Bishop T.D. Jakes.
Oh, right. I haven't heard something by T.D. Jakes in a while. He's great.
Oh my gosh, T.D. Jakes. And then Valerie's a super fan today. Thanks, Valerie.
Go for it.
Yeah. And then Valerie was vibing on you when you were talking about women. So women in assisted living, co-creating a new life with the help of a Gen Z. Ooh, I love that. That's
yes.
Really okay. So now that we've kind of uncovered your favorites, I wanted to ask you a question about my favorite thing, which is life hacks. I'm literally that type of person who's like, okay, if I have to do that again, I'm figuring out how to optimize it, which means figuring out how I am not doing it again, right?
Yes.
So if there's a way to automate this, that is what's happening right now. I'm figuring out how to automate this so I can just send you a link and you figure it out yourself. So I want to ask you, Crystal, how do you power up your life in terms of using your time wisely?
Okay. So whenever I know that I have a lot to do on a certain day, right, I definitely try and get enough rest. That's a really good start. I don't want to be dragging. And then once I am up, I like to create a mental list, but really it's even good if you just want to like write it out or if you have a whiteboard to write it out. But I would say for me, the bare minimum on a busy day is to always try to do at least one productive and or creative thing that day, at least to where I know, did I do the most important thing that I needed to do today, to be productive, to be creative, to know that I put in some work so that way, if all else fails, let's say if an emergency comes up or whatever, at least I know that I got that one thing out of the way for the day. I can feel that sense of accomplishment, that sense of like, well, if I got that done, then I can get X, Y, and Z done too. Or, it's that momentum, right? You got to get that momentum going. And I can also struggle with procrastination. So I know that if I'm able to get at least that one thing done for the day, then it's a lot easier to just keep that momentum going, right? So that's what I try and do.
I love that. And that, what, can I say something? That's a super hack, because what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for success. You're almost saying, I'm going to make sure my stuff is done before I start thinking about, I always think about other people's problems is pretty much what work is, right? So the point is you go to work and you do all this stuff. And then at the end of the day, you're like, what did I do? You solved everybody else's problems. What did you do for yourself, right?
I clocked in and clocked out.
Yeah, you clocked in, you clocked out. You did a great job. But how do you feel at the end of the day?
Exactly.
I love that.
What did you do to add value to yourself, right?
Yes. So one of my coaches, Brian Johnson, actually says that what's your number one win for the day? And do that first before the sun rises or
that's
before
a great way to think about it.
You have to win. And he says, what's important now? And make a roadmap for yourself. So it's like dominoes, right? So you just keep kind of chipping away. That way you're always winning. And at the end of the day, whatever happens, right, you have your bookends, and you did your first bookend, then of course, your PM bookend. But the point is, you won if you did the one thing, one creative thing, one productive thing. Doesn't matter what happens in the middle of the day, right?
You still did it. And I'd like to add too that like another life hack, if you will, that ties into that is me. I always just try my best to look on the bright side And that really includes practicing gratitude. So not only do my brother and I practice mindfulness, which he's a lot better at being consistent than I am, but I'm still learning. I always, especially when I was a little bit younger and going through a lot, am always trying to practice gratitude.
One of my friends actually literally just wrote a book on gratitude. It's so funny that you're mentioning that. And I just got it from Amazon.
Really?
You know, you always support your friends, right?
Yes.
And for some reason, you know, the fact that you just brought that up. And so this book is actually available on Amazon. It's called Happy Days Start with Gratitude. And it's a journal that you can use. And it's so simple. I actually absolutely love how it's set up. You literally, this is like a 7-day spread. I love bullet journaling. And so, and I am like a sucker for journals. So when somebody tells me they got a journal, I'm buying it.
You're like, yes, where's the link? I'm there.
Where's the link? Let me get this, because there's just so much value in seeing how other people's minds work, because that could be something that you could optimize, right? So I love the ideas in here. So yeah, if you're looking for a great book, I am going to spotlight myself.
Yeah.
A great gratitude book.
That's beautiful.
Happy Days Start with Gratitude Journal. So go on Amazon and get this book. It's a great book.
Yeah,
so
I need to look into that. I love it.
Yeah, it's really great. So we uncovered a lot about you, and I'm glad that we were able to talk about how you're being a hero in our community. So I want to ask you to think beyond today, right? So we talked about your past, how you grew up. We talked about you today. So imagine yourself 5 to 10 years from now, maybe even further. What do you see?
Well, in 5 to 10 years from now, I mean, and I try not to think too far ahead, but it's definitely a good question to ask. I mean, I truly hope I am better able to cultivate my own sense of peace, if you will, and equanimity, as I've always struggled with processing difficult emotions, right? Hence why I write. And honestly, I just want to more fully understand my mental health in general. So I feel like if I can better understand myself, even in the deepest, darkest sense of that, then I can better help others that may be struggling with that same, you know, with those same things.
I love that. That's a great, I guess you could say, vision, right, for yourself, which is, I'm dealing, so how can I support other people who are also dealing with it?
Yeah, exactly. You never want to feel like you're dealing with it alone, right?
Yes, that's not good. So I like how you're being very vulnerable in terms of saying not only are you figuring things out, but you're also open to being a support system for others.
Yes, I think
that's why you're our hero, Crystal.
Thank you again.
So how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, so we're on Facebook. I'm personally on Facebook. Revolve One is, as well as our Instagram. It's actually for me, it would still just be our Revolve One Instagram. Twitter, I'm on Twitter. Revolve One is on Twitter. I believe my Twitter handle is @writer_revolver. But either way, you'll probably be able to find me pretty easy. We're also able to be contacted through our website. Technically, we have like a contact form there, and then our emails as well. But my email to get directly in contact with me is actually my name, Crystal, right, @revolve1.com. So if anybody has like any personal inquiries or kind of just wants to be on the show or anything like that, any questions, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll do my best to respond.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us and share a little bit about how you're being a hero in our community. Again, congratulations. And we thank you for the service that you're giving us in this world.
Thank you again, Lisa. And can I just say one more thing before we are done?
Of course. This is your show.
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much again, Lisa. But I feel like sometimes people forget to really celebrate themselves and appreciate themselves, right? So all I want to say to close is that, I want to remind others that speaking positively of ourselves is important, to remember, the progress, to note the progress that you're making, to celebrate those small wins, because that's how we can continue to move forward onto bigger and better things. So just celebrate yourselves, people.
And you heard it right there. Oh my gosh, celebrate your heroic self, right?
Yes.
Celebrate all the struggles of life and how you pull superpowers from who knows where. I think one woman was an archer, right? So she would pull her arrow and shoot it, right? So
yeah.
pull out those superpowers. Make it happen.
Love it.
Yeah,
I'm so hyped now. You got me all hyped.
I'm all hyped. I need to go watch. I mean, let me tell you, Wonder Woman is just. Oh, I always tell people, move over Batman, move over Superman,
Right.
but not move over Superwoman. We want Superwoman to stay. She may be a mythical representation of a powerful woman, but we want her to stay. She really represents.
We need all the women power we can get.
Yes, and of course, Valerie. Thank you, Valerie. We love you so much.
Celebrate you.
Celebrate you. I love how you did that too, Crystal. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Well, I hope you make today a powered up day, Crystal.
I definitely will. You do the same. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. We just had the pleasure of celebrating Crystal Garcia. I am so excited. I took some amazing notes. I hope you did too. I always say when you're in the presence of somebody doing amazing things, take some notes down. We could all learn from each other. I have to point out that I didn't bring it up with Crystal, but there's a show, I think it's on Netflix. It's called Atypical. I can't remember. And the show is all about this amazing boy who is on the spectrum, and he actually writes in these composition books that actually turn out to be really truly the, I guess you could say, manifestation of how his life comes together. He goes back into his composition books and finds the stories and messages and actually, you know, lessons and result and I guess you could say action that he needs to take is on those composition books that he wrote from years ago. So that reminded me of that show. So if you've not watched that show, Atypical, it's really good. I want to read this article, The Woman of Wonder, based off of the movie Wonder Woman. I definitely want to read that article that Crystal wrote. And then the other thing that I want to point out here is when we asked Crystal about her quote, her favorite quote, it was so amazing how she brought in the fact that, you know, we have to almost be our own artist, right? So we paint our own paintbrush. So I'm going to bring that quote in, which was, if they give you ruled paper, write the other way. Ooh, I really love that. So definitely go against the grain. That way you are being a hero in your story and be the best version of yourself, right? Don't put yourself between those lines. Make sure that you're always representing yourself well. And then I love this, make a list and do one thing that's productive before you wake up in the morning. Have a big win. What's important now? Win in the day. And then I also want to point out that there's been a lot of talk, not only in the news, but also, I guess, in our communities, and Crystal just brought it to the forefront, about mental health. And so I just have to say, one of my friends and I, just this morning, we're talking about what mental health first aid is. And we're just talking about how important it is for us to be support systems for each other. And it's just like first aid, you know, you go and you learn CPR and you learn how to do first aid so that when somebody needs you, you're there and you're like, yes, I know CPR. Yes, I know first aid. Okay, let's all learn mental health first aid, right? So that we're there for each other. If you are at work and you see one of your coworkers needs support, for some reason you just kind of sense something's off, you can be, you know, I don't know if there's a certification for mental health first aid. You can learn how to support that person and be able to be a support system for them. So definitely Crystal brought in a lot of things that are going on in my life. So I feel like Crystal's co-creating with me here in my universe and making me feel a little bit like definitely on the right path in the work that we're doing. So if you enjoyed the show today, I hope that you will subscribe wherever you're watching us, because we definitely enjoy not only having your perspective on the show, so we want to notify you when we go live, but we would also love the support of showing how many subscribers we have of this show. And if you want to find out more about Crystal Garcia, you can go to our PowerUp Hero page, which is www.poweruphero.org. Again, that website is www.poweruphero.org. And if you know a role model in our community who deserves to be featured on the Power Up Hero show, visit our website and nominate them. Again, that website is www.poweruphero.org. And if you are that hero, nominate yourself, be bold, be strong, and show us your positive attitude. We want you on the show, and we want you to show how you are being a hero for our community. Again, that website is www.poweruphero.org. We hope that you were educated, we hope you were inspired, and we hope you were encouraged to be a Power Up hero, not only for the community that we serve, for the teams that we serve with, for your family, for your friends, but most importantly, for yourself, because our world needs more heroes today more than ever before. I hope you make today a powered up day. Bye.